And now I'd like to call the first speaker of the proposition, Rishabh, to begin the debate.
We're all witnessing a series of technological innovations, month after month, year after year, that are shaping our lives in the most unimaginable ways. These technological innovations have penetrated our daily lives in so many ways that it's hard to imagine our previous generations who found ways to survive without these that we now take for granted. Have we become so over-dependent on these technologies? Well, you may all have conflicting opinions about that. However, we are at this juncture where we might feel a bit apprehensive about the question that I now put forth. Can technology get the better of man? Good evening, respected judges, my honorable opponents, and ladies and gentlemen. We, the proposition team, will debate the motion on the floor, which is, this House believes that technology can replace man. We, the proposition team, believe the statement is true, and we would like to define the motion first. Technology, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is the machinery, devices, and the software developed from scientific knowledge which can deal with engineering or applied sciences. Can, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, is to be able to do, make, or accomplish. Thus, the definition implies that technology can replace man. That's a possibility. We are not saying that it should replace man. Replace, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary again, is to do the job or the duty of someone. Now, it is important that my opposition realizes that we are not advocating that technology should replace man as a whole or as a complete human being. Rather, we are presenting a case to show the possibility that technology can replace man in certain industries or aspects of life.
Point of information?
Exactly.
Do you believe technology and mankind can coexist?
Yes. In addition, the debate does not look at the emotional or the psychological aspects of life of man. It looks at the activities that man performs which do not involve a man as a member of a family. Most importantly, through the course of this debate, we are not debating the advantages or the disadvantages of technology replacing man. Rather, we are debating whether technology can replace man. The two main arguments of our as a proposition team today are: technology has replaced man already in the healthcare, medical, and military services. Secondly, technology has not only replaced man, it has proved to be a better replacement. We, the proposition, me along with my teammates, through the course of this debate, will
Point of information?
Accepted.
You initially stated that your question and your definition is whether technology can replace man or not. And then you state that technology has already replaced man in the field of medical science. What are you trying to say here?
Well, when I did say whether it can replace man or not, that was a rhetorical question. However, right now I'm asserting the fact, as my two speakers will point it out later in their speeches, that technology has already replaced man in these three sectors. So continuing, to introduce my first argument, there are certain jobs and activities that cannot be done without technology. In two of the following examples that I'm now going to mention, technology and technology alone played a critical role in solving or fixing the problems and getting things back to normal in these hazardous and dangerous environments. First and foremost, how can we all forget the 2011 tsunami, Japanese tsunami, which triggered the nuclear power plant breakdown at Fukushima? Now, after the devastating tsunami, the nuclear power plant started giving out radioactive materials, or exuding out radioactive materials. But
Point of information.
Yes?
Do you believe or do you even know about this, that this technology was developed by a man itself?
Well, I'm going to talk about the technology that I'm trying to propose right here. So if you could wait, that would be great. So, now in the normal breakdown of a nuclear power plant, it's too radioactive for the humans to enter and clean up. However, the use of the robot called Warrior was used in this case, which entered into the damaged buildings of Fukushima and surveyed the high dose areas of radiation within turbines, sucking up radioactive dust into a vacuum cleaner. The most important thing right out here to point is that humans normally are able to enter into a radioactive zone to only up to 250 millisieverts per hour. However, the robot which entered was exposed to a radiation level of up to 1000 millisieverts per hour, unlike not possible with a human intervention. So the second case is that of the oil spill, which was also in the Gulf of Mexico, the British petroleum oil spill, where the robots helped in the closing of the leaks in the pipeline. Now, I would like to end my speech exemplifying that technology can replace man in the future, which will be in the best interest of the society. Now, my second speaker, our team's second speaker, Hussein, will show you how technology has already replaced man in the future, if you still don't believe me so. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite the first speaker of the opposition, Nazla Anwar, to present the opposition's case.
Let's think for a second and imagine a world in which technology does replace man. Would you feel safe going to a robotic doctor or leaving your child with a robotic babysitter who you know has no human emotion whatsoever and cannot perform outside the paradigm that it has been programmed to function in? How secure would that make you feel? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My teammates and I wholeheartedly disagree with the topic that technology can replace man. I'm Nazla, the first speaker, and I will be defining the notion as well as talking about the emotional factors, the importance of emotional factors that set us apart from technology. First, let's define the word technology, which can be interpreted in two ways. Definition 1, the use of science to invent useful things or to solve problems. Definition 2, as the proposition stated, refers to the machinery, devices and methods developed through scientific knowledge.
Point of information.
Yes.
You do realize that it's the proposition's prerogative to define the motion, and unless you are challenging our definition, you don't get to redefine it.
I am challenging your definition if you would let me completely hear it. Okay, so by standards of this definition, you realize that technology is something that's the product of the human mind, something that we human beings come together to create. Hence, it can't outperform its creator. We build machines to perform in a particular function or perform in a particular way. Thus, they cannot function in multi-dimensional spheres. For example, they can't anticipate change or adapt to it unless there is human intervention that comes in, tweaks its software, and makes it adaptable.
Point of information.
Yes.
You just said that they can change themselves and they can't adapt. Do you have any idea about self-adapting algorithms and software that changes themselves according to the input and the stimuli that are available right now?
Again, in the ever-changing environment, don't human beings have to come in and specify what the changes are? Because changes, you don't exactly get to predict them. Okay. Many human qualities such as intuition, tacit knowledge, common sense are attributes that can't just be downloaded onto a software, onto a machinery. And these things are important because you can't approach everything in life through an algorithmic equation or through just a logical sequence. For example, in the situation of a doctor and babysitter, you would want them to experience some emotion when you hand them something so important to you. There are instances where the human factor, such as empathy, self-awareness, ambition, set us apart from technology, which has absolutely no emotional quotient. They are incapable of feeling humanity. The second term that we would like to again define is replace, which means become a substitute or take the place of. I admit technology today can perform a lot of activities and they can store a lot of information and they can perform numerical problems at a very fast rate. And there are industries where technology has replaced man, but you should remember that these industries may be applying a limited scope of human skill. You can't replace human intelligence because technology, it uses a sequential pattern when it does something. It has no intelligence as such. The third term in today's motion is
Point of information.
rejected. The third term in today's motion is man, which is defined as a bipedal primate mammal that is anatomically related to the great apes but distinguished especially by notable development of the brain with a resultant capacity for speech, reasoning, and emotion. Now, speech may come through technology. Many iPhone users here have Siri, which has the most monotonous, boring voice, but can answer your questions. However, emotions and reasoning cannot be installed in technology, nor can we ask them to come up with ideas of its own. Thus, it is evident that there really is no question of technology replacing man. What my teammates and I urge the proposition to do is consider a symbiotic relationship where technology and man work together, because it is true, in the end of the day, it increases our efficiency. However, technology alone will never benefit society. Thank you.
Now I'd like to call upon the second speaker of the proposition, Hussain, to elaborate on the proposition's case.
Can technology replace man? Technology can, technology has, and technology further will replace man. And as my worthy opponent Nazla pointed out, in some cases, technology has replaced man. Before delving into the future, let's look into the past. And before debating upon whether technology can or cannot replace man, let's see what technology has already done. When we look into the past, we see that technology has already replaced the labor workforce in many aspects of life. You must have heard about the Mars rover, or you must have heard about the unmanned aerial vehicles, which we commonly call drones. However, today, I'm going to take you through those daily life activities where technology has replaced man. To see that in the context of this global workforce, I would like to say that the International Robotics Federation has got the statistic that one
Point of
out of
information.
every accepted.
You speak of Mars rover, you speak of drones, and you say that technology has replaced the labor workforce. What does the word labor have to do with Mars rover? Can you please explain?
By labor workforce, I imply that man is as an acting agent. Technology is replacing man's actions, man's activity, and as the definition limited it, man, not man as a whole, not man as a family man, because we are not talking about science fiction here, we are talking about reality. So to see the global workforce, 1 out of every 150 laborers is a robot. Let's move to the retail sector. There have been dramatic changes in the wholesale as well as the retail sector. There have been automated warehouses where there are computer-driven programs to assemble and deliver goods in a matter of minutes. Since 1989, there has been 250,000 jobs dropped in this industry, and in the next decade, the wholesale industry will be eliminated altogether. Retail, the automobile industry. We've seen smart robots make their way into the market, and the automakers do prefer them over men because they are cost-effective, efficient, productive, and fast. It is estimated that each robot replaces 4 jobs in the economy, and if you use it for 24 hours a day, it recovers all costs. So let me make a statement again, that technology does not just replace man, it replaces 4 men. Accepted.
Alright, since you're saying that labor workforce is replaced, so technically don't you think it's disrupting the entire economic system? Aren't you putting things in imbalance?
I would like to remind the opposition here that the topic on the floor today is that can technology replace man? Not whether technology should or whether technology should not replace man. Agriculture. The Israelis have experimented with a robotic melon picker called Rompon. It has special sensors which detects ripe fruits, which picks ripe fruits, which sows fields, which plows fields, which can even feed dairy cows and can shear sheep. The Purdue University researchers say that, well, they will see a fully automated farm in the next 20 years. Let's move on to pharmacy. The next time you may probably go to a pharmacy, you might see a robot behind the counter. Why? Because the UCSF Medical Center has recently launched an automated robotic controlled pharmacy in 2 of its hospitals. What do these robots do? When they get the instructions from the physicians and the practitioners in the hospital, they electronically pick, package and dispense individual doses of pills. And in the past year, they have dispensed over 350,000 individual doses of pills without a single error. Let me remind you about rejected. I will not be accepting any points of information from you on. Let me remind you about Watson and IBM technology, which understands simple and natural human language. A physician uses Watson. How? A physician asks Watson for a query. And where does Watson go? Watson provides a solution. Watson is the diagnosis and treatment advisor for that physician. It looks into treatment guidelines, electronic medical records, previous patient information, doctor notes, nurse suggestions, clinical studies and journal articles to provide a holistic solution for the doctor. Lawyers and paralegals. Who thinks that lawyers and paralegals can be replaced by technology today? Very well, my friends, it's true. Instead of paying an army of lawyers and paralegals to review documents, softwares do the job. Not only in a fraction of time, but in a fraction of cost. The New York Times reported that Blackstone Discovery of California has developed a software which can analyze over 1.5 million legal documents for less than $100,000. The Google car, drivers, that gets me to drivers. The driverless Google car is an excellent example of how technology has replaced man. The software, the Google chauffeur, has replaced drivers. And with passengers in the car, this Google car has driven for over 140,000 miles without any error. So once again, I would like to restate that technology can, and technology will replace man. Thank you so much.
We now have the second speaker of the opposition, Murtaza Ali Khan.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Murtaza Ali Khan, and I shall be continuing the case of the opposition and this house does believe that technology cannot replace human. Now, to move on to the first point, the proposition has come up with some interesting points here. They have talked about the firstly to speak that they have agreed that technology and mankind can exist. They do appreciate this basic simple fact that human entity is dominant over all. Secondly speaking, they have talked about jobs being dropped in the wholesale industry. I would like to refute to that. Considering the wholesale industry is comprised of many and millions of workers, some of whom can be our own fathers or even maybe our uncles. If we are going to replace an entire industry by, say, some kind of a means of automation, don't these humans have a life? Don't these have a right to exist? Are you denying that? Are you denying that these humans cannot do work their entire lives? And what are they supposed to do if they are not supposed to work their entire lives?
Point of information.
Accepted.
Even when you challenged our definition, you didn't put any parameters about discussing the advantages and disadvantages of technology, and therefore you are straying off topic right here.
Allow me to come to the point. It's supposed to be a question. Now, to further continue, regarding the wholesale, all of these jobs that are being dropped are certainly going to affect our whole big economies, some of which has already started in regions. For example, in Europe, recently there have been riots across different countries, some of whom will include Spain and Greece, where unemployment had become a big issue. And why would that be? Automation driven about by the technology that has been being developed. To continue further, I would like to...
Point of information.
Accepted.
You just said that automation has cost humans their job. So by your own words, that means that machines and technology have replaced men.
No, I do not imply that. I mean to say that automation is becoming a harm in this sense, and therefore it should not be taken as such. If you would allow me to continue to my case here, the economic theory of comparative advantage should be an explanation, assuming that even though if computers were exactly running everything, you will need to have humans who can actually pay for them to allow them to do what they're relatively better at. There's likely to be a higher opportunity cost if computers were to do the entire intuitive analysis by their own, which a human brain-body system could be involved on, and therefore they would be able to concentrate on their task and abilities, and therefore that should define that humans need to exist in order to technology to even, let's say, allow to be continued. Furthermore, some of the jobs, such as in the engineering market, these jobs currently depend on thinking broadly and creatively, something that technology industry still lacks upon. Because these tasks require some form of general intelligence, not just narrowly specialized intelligence. It also talks about creativity, because you need a certain sense of direction and a conceptual frame. This is basically, for example, in a world of online distractions, a person who's definitely able to maintain a long obedience towards a single goal and who can filter out whatsoever is relevant to that goal will be the one of enormous worth in this world. And technology at this moment cannot currently lead a sense of direction. The proposition has mentioned the example of Watson. Now, Watson has appeared in a game of Jeopardy that was televised all over the world. And even despite most of the questions that Watson was able to answer correctly based on the algorithms, Watson got a very simple question wrong. And it mentioned correctly that Toronto was a city in the United States. Since when did that happen? Even a computer such as Watson has made a simple fallacy. And Watson has failed to realize the existence of common sense in this world.
Point of information.
Rejected. Now the current world also seems to reward the architects, and it values the human entirety in the sense that all the giant celebrities, internet celebrities, who did not come up with much ideas, came up with actually systems such as Facebook, Twitter, Wikipedia. But these systems were designed on an architecture that possessed a certain sense of gravity, a center of gravity, which allowed humans to actually interact. These systems itself are feeding upon humans. So can technology actually replace man? I don't think so. And I will rest my case. Thank you.
I'd now like to invite the third speaker of the proposition, Toka, to defend the proposition's case.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Motion's already been introduced. Another definition's already been introduced, which I don't see the point of since it already agreed with all the terms that we define. However, let me move on to the very first POI of this debate brought by the opposition. Do you believe that man and technology can coexist? Now, I don't know if the opposition and I are living in the same decade, but look around you, it already coexists. Now, the first opposition speaker said that technology cannot outperform their creators. Now, that statement baffles me, because the very reason technology right now is being used is because it already does the job so much more efficiently and so much more better than humans, as my second speaker has brought on example after example in several industries. So that unsubstantiated claim that they built their whole case on is extremely ridiculous and unfounded. Now let's move on to another quote that I have here, which is also very, very interesting. There are instances where technology has replaced man. Thank you for agreeing with us and making our job so much easier, because the whole motion, ladies and gentlemen, is that technology can replace man, and by their own admission, it already has in several instances. So again, I thank you. Now, their second speaker said that they're a harm, and this is a direct quote, and that basically they just kept on propagating this idea that technology is so bad. It is the sole cause of unemployment. It is harming our economy. Now let's go back to when my first and second speaker kept reiterating the fact that technology does the job so much better, so much more efficiently, so much more cost effectively, so much more better. So when it takes less time, when it costs less, when it is done with a lower percentage of error, that somehow harms the economy. That somehow causes the economy to spiral down, and it causes so much harm more than good. How does that even make sense? Where is the logic behind your arguments? Where are the statistics? Where are the facts?
Point of information.
Please.
One robot replaces 4 people. So many people lose their lives because they don't have money, because they don't earn money. What do you see right over here?
Again, question of right and wrong, bad and good, disadvantages and advantages. Have you even heard the motion that we kept stating? You yourself said whether or not technology can replace man. Not whether or not technology is bad, not what will happen if technology replaces man. It is a question of can. It is a question of ability. Please understand the motion before you go on presenting the rest of your arguments, for your own sake. Now, not only
Point of information.
rejected, not only are the rest of their claims completely irrelevant to the topic, but they're also, again, unsubstantiated claims. What does technology do, ladies and gentlemen? We have already presented so many examples, but let me move on to the fact that when I brought up the self-improving algorithms, and they completely shut down that question without actually properly addressing the case. Now here is, according to a paper titled The Nature of Self-Improving Artificial Intelligence by a Dr. Stephen, a PhD in Caltech. It was published back in 2008, okay? So it says that self-improving artificial intelligence systems are currently being created, exhibit 4 natural drives, okay? Efficiency, self-preservation, resource acquisition, and creativity.
Point of
Self-preservation, let me finish please. Self-preservation and creativity. Now what does that remind me of? Oh, I don't know, humans. Go on.
A self-improving technology. Do you think a self-improving technology can replace Steve Jobs?
Okay, so here's the thing. Steve Jobs, after he created the software, became only the head, the figurehead, became more interested in the business aspect, and we already said that no, actually, I will give you that. No, self-improving algorithm cannot replace Steve Jobs as a human being, but it can replace what he does as actions, as tasks, as his ability to do work. Now let's move on to something else. Rejected, I've already accepted too. Now, I didn't want to go there, but since they kept going on about human beings and whether technology can replace human beings as persons, let me bring your attention to an example. Ron Arkin's bots at Georgia Tech, they have been programmed. What do, ladies and gentlemen? They scan your brain while you're sleeping and they paint your dreams. They paint your dreams. Painting is a creative action, ladies and gentlemen, and therefore technology can also do that. And being that creativity is an aspect of humanity, in some ways technology can act human. Now let me also mention something very, very interesting. I didn't want to go there, but let's go there. There are sex bots, ladies and gentlemen, and they are New Jersey-based, called True Companions. There are 2 virgins, male and female, Rocky and Roxy. So, now those amorous pairs, they even have features. They have 7 different personalities for, not my own words, ultimate human substitution and satisfaction guarantee. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, not only are the industries, our jobs are being replaced in the industries by technology, but the most basic human act is being replaced by technology. So therefore, my points are made, the arguments brought by the opposition are completely ridiculous, and therefore I thank you for your patience.
We have the third speaker of the opposition, Shubha, for the rebuttal.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As we all know, we've had a very good sales and marketing professional right here. We have had advertisements about sex bots. We have had painting dreams. As we all know, we strive to live in reality, but unfortunately the proposition, which has very little research, I would like to say, lives in dreams. They like to paint dreams. Well, let me point out one little thing that we all know. Technology strives the means and power that comes from the sun. Technology lives on sun. Basically, technology comes from the energy that the sun provides us. Number one, technology depends on direction that comes from human beings, of course. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what do we concur from here? Technology depends on human beings and the sun. Now, can you talk about replacing something that you depend on? That's as good as saying a fire existing without oxygen. That's as good as saying that you can live without your parents. Is that ever possible? Yes.
Can you please clarify how does technology depend on the sun?
Well, being an engineer myself, I do realize that energy comes from the sun. Energy is used by technology. Energy is converted when it comes from the sun. It's converted from solar energy into mechanical, sometimes even electrical energy. Sometimes it just goes into heat and thermodynamics, and that is how technology uses the power from the sun. That's it. Well, now as we all know, the first speaker mentioned about China and how dirty it is, etc., etc. Do you know about the city called Guangzhou in China? That is where junk technology goes. That is where obsolete technology goes. Did you know that there's lead in the air of Guangzhou city? Did you know that it is inhabitable by human beings? It's close to Mars, actually. Human beings cannot exist around a 10 square kilometer area of that city. Why? Because of technological waste. Well, imagine using an old black Nokia phone invented in 1995. 15 years ago, if someone believed that technology can replace mankind, we would be using the same phone today. Technology would never progress had technology been replaced by mankind. Had technology ever replaced mankind, we would be using the same Nokia phone for the rest of your life. We would be living a nightmare. Ladies and gentlemen, the point put forward by the proposition here is that can technology replace mankind? Well, as we all know, and as it has been accepted by the proposition, technology and mankind coexist. The example is right in front of us. Now, I would like to bring out something that the first speaker said. He spoke about innovation. It's about how technology shapes our lives. It's about how it has penetrated into our lives and how it is a possibility that this can replace mankind. Ladies and gentlemen, innovation, shaping our lives, technology, all of this is part of research and development. Ever heard of a robot that does research and development? Ever heard of a research and development unit that is powered by only and only robots? Ladies and gentlemen, he also pointed out that technology has replaced mankind in 3 whole sectors. I would like to ask the proposition, is your dentist a mechanical tin can? Really? Does he get caught by metal detectors at the airport?
Point of information.
Yes, accepted.
Okay, do you realize that there have been instances in the United States where a robot has performed open heart surgery completely without human interference?
Well, and how many of them have been successful? We know the results, we know the statistics. That's why the number of doctors in the world today are far bigger as compared to the number of metal doctors as the proposition proposes. Well, but the second speaker was very interesting. He spoke about how it has revolutionized the retail industry, the retail sector. Ever heard, and also about the automobile sector, ever heard of a salesman who's a robot? Ever heard of a salesman who comes in a monotonous voice and tells, "Sir, can you buy this car for me?" Well, this is what the proposition is proposing. This is what the second speaker is saying. I really don't understand what to debate here. He tells us about a melon picker. A melon picker that goes and plants seeds. He waits for them to grow. He waits and picks out the right melons. Well, does the melon picker know which farmland to go into? How does the melon picker even reach the farmland? It needs a man to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, mankind is required in every aspect. Technology and mankind coexist. They do not replace each other. Technology and mankind have lived together for ages, for as far as we can remember. They have always coexisted. And that is the point that we are trying to put forward right here. Technology and mankind coexist. We all know technology depends on fossil fuels. Ladies and gentlemen, today's modern technology depends on petroleum. Imagine if one of our proposition speakers actually said that, oh yes, technology should replace mankind right here, right now, today. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, 15 years later, we would still be using the same iPhone. There would be no technological development. And probably about 500 years later, all of fossil fuels will be over. Because the current technology that depends on fossil fuels will be exhausted. Mankind will not be there to develop new technology that might run on something else. This is what replacing technology does to you. It brings the end of mankind. This is what the proposition does not believe in. One little thing that the proposition would like to say, right here. Thank you.
I'd like to call Murtaza Ali Khan from the opposition to give the reply speech.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. This debate has been very absurd. The proposition at many points has agreed to our statements. Before I can point out to that, I would like to first summarize the case that's brought by the opposition. My first speaker, Nazla, has redefined the definition and has mentioned the need for emotions, intuition, creativity that actually stems from the basic step of mankind. Second speaker being myself, I have mentioned about the economic advantage that's brought by the comparative advantage theory, and have mentioned the need for basic common sense that was a fallacy that was committed by a very advanced technological machine, the one being Watson. And my third speaker has mentioned the need for, and I myself has mentioned the need for a direction whereupon technology requires a sense of a human entity, a mankind, or the presence of a human being. The proposition have, when asked upon, to replace, if the replace refers to the word substitute in the definition of this debate, the proposition have agreed to that, and therefore they have agreed that we both technology and mankind can completely coexist with each other. Had not mankind been replaced, there will be no more technological advancements. This is again accepted by the proposition. I would furthermore reiterate from the third speaker who has also mentioned, this was actually reiterated by the third speaker. I myself have also mentioned about the need for, the first speaker has completely redefined this motion, and I would like to end short here that at the end, no matter who may it be, you need a human to press the button of that machine. Because after all, human is what has led to technology advancing ahead in the future. The fallacy that technology can completely replace a man is similar to saying that Pepsi can completely replace water. But hey, isn't Pepsi made from water? Thank you, everyone.
I'd now like to call Hussain from the proposition to give the reply speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, so our opposition was very terrified with the fact that robots were taking over their lives. They said it will bring an end to mankind. We believe that they've been watching a lot of episodes of Terminator lately, and we sympathize with the fact that it appears that Skynet is taking over their world with the artificial intelligence army and has been haunting all their dreams. Regardless of the fact that we were at a loss to find any solid points they presented, we refuted all their arguments, example after example, with instances where technology did replace man. The first speaker, that is me, that is Rishabh, he defined the motion. He defined technology can replace and man. The motion on the floor was that this house believes that technology can replace man. The argument put across was that dangerous and hazardous activities require technology to replace man. Following which, the speaker Nazla said the technology cannot fulfill emotions and it is not capable of adapting. However, there was a very interesting third point put across by the same speaker, that technology has replaced man. Following which, it was said by the proposition, examples after examples, that technology has been replacing man in its daily activities, and it was emphasized that technology has, technology can, and technology further will replace man. The second speaker of opposition said that technology has caused unemployment. Technology cannot be creative. Technology does not have direction. Technology is bad. Technology creates waste. Being off topic, we like to restate this motion on the floor with our stance that we agree that this House believes that technology can replace man. Thank you.